What's up? I want to make this video. The easiest thing that I could do in this life is to make these videos. It's the easiest thing I ever did. But I want to talk about the folly of our forefathers. We shouldn't subject ourselves to the folly of our forefathers. We should learn from their mistakes, their cowardice, the chance they had to make active moves, to take action, their failure to declare independence, their failure to stand up without being led by the Caucasians. I'm talking about our subjection to America as slaves. I'm pretty sure before we were subjected as slaves, we had a lot of great black men and women who ruled the entire planet. But that history has been erased. And we don't really have too many scholars trying to find that erased history. Most of our modern scholars, minus Ivan Van Sertima, who wrote the book They Came Before Columbus, and also J.A. Rogers, who wrote Nature Knows No Colorline. These scholars did real research and information to discover the true greatness of the original black people from America. And J.A. Rogers, he focused primarily on the black people who ruled in Europe, since the ancient Romans, since the Carthaginians, up until the Moors, and even recently during the Middle Ages. J.A. Rogers did this research. He actually went to museums before World War II to get the original pictures, paintings, coats of arms, before the United States government destroyed most of it when they bombed Europe. But we should learn from the folly of our forefathers. When we actually learned to be trained soldiers during the Civil War, we defeated the Confederacy, the black soldiers. But we didn't have a general to stand up and continue the war for freedom, to conquer. We could have conquered America. We was at a position in which we was at our strongest because we had fully trained, healthy soldiers. But what America did, the United States government did, to prevent the soldiers from taking true action, they created a government called the Freedmen's Bureau, and they gave the black people all of the states that was conquered by the United States Confederate. All the conquered states was given to the blacks. And for 20 years, we had a period of reconstruction in which we developed most of our colleges, we built cities, we was prospering. For 20 years, that was enough time for the soldiers to get old and be less of a threat. In that 20-year period, we had a central bank for the Freedmen's Bureau. That bank was robbed of all of its money. The American government, United States government, passed the 14th Amendment and declared that all of us were citizens of the United States, therefore we're subject to their law and their taxes. They dismantled the Freedmen's Bureau and made us sharecroppers, Jim Crow slaves. In that 20-year period before they dismantled the Freedmen's Bureau, during Reconstruction, our forefathers was obligated to conquer America, to expand and take over America, because at that time we weren't not citizens. We were stateless people. It was just trying to figure out, are we going to send them to Africa? What are we going to do? But they feared the soldiers. They didn't want to give them no reason to fight, because these soldiers just defeated the Confederacy. So the folly of these forefathers were they did not take action, preemptive action, before the action was taken against us, which did happen when they forced us to dismantle the Freedmen's Bureau, forced us to be citizens, forced us to be sharecroppers, to be slaves in our own land with a Caucasian master, put us back into captivity. You know, that was one period. During Jim Crow, 1900s to the 1960s, the black men were primarily intellectual, scientists, artists, poets. They embraced the philosophy primarily of W.E.B. Du Bois to reject hard manual labor and seek the liberal arts. You had a lot of blacks who were actually builders and carpenters and engineers, but for the most part, we weren't warriors. We weren't warriors. We weren't preparing for the battles that was to come. The white man came to destroy our communities, but they still didn't destroy our communities because we still had allies in the Middle East. We had allies in Europe. We had allies in Africa. We had kingdoms who were looking out for our interests, because the reason America did the Civil War is because they was under threat that they were being invaded if they didn't end slavery. So they was forced to end slavery. And our biggest allies were, I think, the Ottomans and Turks. And when they actually had these cities, primarily like Black Wall Street, we had countries that we did trade with, foreign governments that we don't know nothing about right now because the history is not being taught, deciphered on a regular basis due to the folly of our ridiculous forefathers. Now, after the defeat of the Ottoman Empire in World War II, we lost a lot of our foreign protection. So the United States government started to destroy our communities, destroy our cities, bomb, blow us up. They did it in Chicago, 1919. They did it in Tulsa. They did it they did it all over the place. Right after World War I was over. But we still had soldiers coming back from World War I. A lot of them was murdered in drive-bys. Some of them in Chicago actually formed militias to fight the onslaught of the white supremacists when they tried to conquer Bronzeville in 1919, Chicago race riots. But they did not formulate an army to fight against this country. They did not organize against a common enemy. And we was neutralized during the Harlem Renaissance, the Roaring '20s, to do the poetry, to do the philosophy, to do the arts. It's always neutralized with some weak philosophy. We weren't taught to separate, even though during the Harlem Renaissance, a lot of black people went to Russia. They went to the USSR because the USSR were allowing black people to be free in Russia, to have freedom from racism, freedom from oppression. Like a lot of black people moved to Europe to escape racism, which is ironic. But we weren't really fighting or separating as a whole, because a lot of us still held fast to the idea that we will one day be accepted as free. We had A. Philip Randolph, we had W.E.B. Du Bois with his crisis, we had the integrationalist Negroes winning, teaching us to hold on one more year. We would get the policies passed to allow us to be accepted by this government. They lynching, murdering you, brutalizing you, whites only, blacks only, Jim Crow segregation. And then the blacks had the massive movement, civil rights movement, to force America to accept them. We would give up everything just to be accepted into white society. And that happened. And look what it led to. 40, 50 years, mass abortion, mass incarceration, mass unemployment, miseducation, poor education, just destruction, total destruction. The forefathers' main folly was the fact that they never really intended to separate, and they never did what it takes to become independent and free. Even though we fought in every war. we have even to this day, we have trained soldiers. We have all the skills on planet Earth, but we're not trying on an individual basis. We don't have the desire to be free. We can't even perceive freedom. We can't even imagine not being connected with the Caucasian American supremacist society, white supremacist society. And that society can't even imagine us being independent. It's like we're interlocked. They feel that they own us. We are the goose that laid the golden egg. They are exploiting our creativity, our ideas, our inventions, making multi-trillion-dollar industries. So they will not let you go. Like Pharaoh did not want the children of Israel to go. It took 10 plagues and massive death before Pharaoh finally allowed the children of Israel to go. And we're going through plagues right now. We got the coronavirus. California is being devastated. Fires, floods, tornadoes. The same parallel. But America do not want to let the black people go. And the black people don't want to go. But why would you want to be in a relationship in which you are abused, exploited, brutalized, your humanity stripped, your dignity stripped, your right to the freedoms of a human being is hindered, is stopped? You know, we should be free, regardless of what they feel they're gonna lose trillions of dollars if the black people was to go. They are scared. And the black people feel that if we go, we will starve to death. We will die if we separate ourselves from this wicked, evil society. But it has to happen. And we got to learn from the folly of our forefathers.